Of course, my
as
dog
he
has a
barks.
bark. Yeah, of course. Live edition again. Let's hope the chat works this time. But back in the doghouse with me for the first time in quite some time is my good friend Rich
I
McAtee.
am back.
Rich, how you doing?
It's Brittany, bitch, and I am back. Doing fantastic. I was away for a bit, um, welcoming the birth of my second daughter, so I'm back.
I wish I knew how to use the
the
sound
clapping,
tool on
the
here.
clapping
Yeah,
sound.
yeah, because I always tend to screw that up, so I don't want to touch it this time. But yeah, congratulations to you. You're an awesome dad.
Thank
I've
you.
already seen you with Stevie, so I could just imagine everything's going to be great, and you're going to get bullied from here on out.
Yeah, oh yeah, I
You're
already am.
you're outnumbered 3-1 at this point.
Thank you, sir.
So, but amazing news by you. Glad to have you back finally. It's a little awkward when I have to talk to myself for an hour. So I'm glad to see you here with me. Um, you've missed it quite a bit. We had the Dynasty Dog Duel. I've been doing all the addition and subtraction in that one. It's been a hell of a
He's
time.
been a math wizard,
Yeah.
just figuring out Excel.
Yeah. As much as I've been using it lately, you'd think I'd know what the hell I was doing,
I've been
but I
adding
don't.
each one by themselves to
Yeah.
come.
So let me pull that up real quick, what that's kind of looked like. You did go on a nice, it's up on the screen here, Richard, if you want to take a look.
I'm trying to
Um,
find a link on the Twitter to try to RT it.
to RT, go to my Twitter page, Richard.
That's why I'm there. I'm there, but I
But
don't
you
see it.
started out hot in the Dynasty Dog Duel. If you can see here, you won the first 4 weeks. You were 4-0. Since then, you've lost.
Can you tell me what the colors mean or?
No, they were just because it made life easier. And I just kept going down the line of colors in the color chart on Excel. Um,
What? Does something mean losses and something means win?
No, I just was just picking colors. It's really has nothing to do with anything. What color looked cool for that week? You did,
Okay.
like I said, go on a 4-0 run here, and we haven't updated this together since week 2, so that's why week 1 and 2 don't have any colors with them for the wins and losses. But you were 4-0 and you've lost 4 of the last 5. How are you feeling about that?
Well, it's not looking good for me right now. I'm on it. I gotta pump the brakes before I just go on an all out shit show losing streak here. I'm trying to see who's been killing it for me or who's been killing me rather, and I don't know how.
So let me see. This is your team right here. Saquon Barkley really has been a lot of your offense
Yeah.
recently, um, obviously, because he's been on a tear himself. Trying to scroll over here a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Who else you got here? Cooper Cup obviously has been a bit of a
It's been
disappointment up
yeah.
because he had some injuries, but the past 2 weeks have been really solid. Kyle Pitts.
Tyreek
This is
Hill's been a shitbag too.
well, that's we're going to talk about that a little later. With Tua Tagovailoa being out, I think he's the reason why this offense runs the way it does. I think everyone has discounted how good Tua is up
Hmm.
until how we saw the Dolphins look without Tua, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. Well, now they're on a
Um,
landslide too.
True. I mean, I think they'll be okay. Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. We're going to talk about them a little bit later on. It's crazy to think Derrick Henry being, 30 some odd years old and doing what he's doing. We're going to talk about him shortly too. My team, oh God, I made things too big. Giggity.
Pause.
Yeah. Um, it's I'm glad Bijan has started to show signs of life these past several weeks, and I'm glad they're giving him more touches because that's what me and you had touched on. I think the last time you were on with me,
Hmm.
he really is a difference maker when you give him the ball. And the past few weeks, he's shown that.
Yeah.
But if you guys are in this chat, and I'm sorry for some reason I don't know how to work this. If you're asking us questions or comments, concerns, or want to tell us that we suck, um, you're listening to me talk while I'm talking, which is
I
kind of
dude, it was so it popped up differently. The link popped up differently. I thought I just retweeted an old post, but it
uh,
wasn't. It was this
but
one.
again,
Okay.
if you are commenting or something, just I apologize ahead of time if we don't see it. For some reason, I don't see anything in the chat. Rich said last week he was commenting, trying to mock me. Just
I
wasn't
said
sure.
you looked. I said you looked handsome, and you didn't
Oh,
even answer me.
thank you, Frank.
You
But
son of a gun.
so that is the what's going on in the Dynasty Dog Duel. Rich is up 5-4, sliding a little bit. We'll see how this rest of the year goes for him. But we are at week 10. Rich, can you believe that
Dude,
this season's going so fast?
it seems like it was like yesterday, week 1, and we were just like trying to like get through and wait and like be patient. But
It's
here we
crazy
are.
how we want the season to start so fast and then how quickly it
Hmm.
ends. Like
Yeah,
everything is, we have a lot of playoffs either start week 14 or 15.
yeah.
It's coming right around the corner. We're going to talk about a few guys that maybe you should go out and try to acquire before this, playoffs start to happen. Because now is the time.
The
If you
deadline's
got
coming up for most, right?
Yeah, if you have a deadline, yeah. Team or some leagues don't. What do you feel about that, by the way?
That's insane. Like I was today years old when I realized that. Like I didn't know that.
I
That's
didn't
insane.
either.
Like, I didn't know there was some leagues with no deadlines. That doesn't make any sense, dude. It's like okay, so championship week. Uh, let's say Dak Prescott was God bless him. Dak Prescott's my quarterback, and he breaks his arm. I can
Right.
just be like, "Hey, Mike, give me Jalen Hurts. I'll give you, whatever,
Everything
and
I've
then I'll
got. Yeah.
I'll cut yeah, and then I'll give you some money, from the championship." That's insane. Like that doesn't
No,
make
I don't
that's
think. I mean, there has to be a little decorum.
collusion.
Yeah, there has to be a little decorum, little demure, or whatever the hell the kids are saying around these days. There has to be, some secret spy guy stuff, making sure that nobody's doing things like you just said. Don't take
Hey,
any advice from
you
Mitch
go out,
Trubisky.
I pay for the chicken wings the next 18 times you go out, it's we're even. That's what would happen.
Shut the fuck up. Uh, All right, so let's get into that bite segment. That is our news and injury report segment of the Dynasty Dogs. Let's start with the first thing here. Some, good news for a certain somebody, some bad news for a certain somebody. Chuba Hubbard gets a 4-year, $33.2 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. He, well deserved. The dude's been just a very
Hmm.
solid running back.
I think he's
Kind
so
of guy.
underrated.
He is underrated. I do think he's a good number two running back, not a focal point of an offense.
A number
Um,
2.
yeah.
Well,
What do you?
right now, I think he's going to be the number 1. Until they're like we like passed a pile of shit in Miles Sanders over onto them. We're like got their ass. Thank God, he's out of here. But I think they're just waiting to get rid of him. He was a cut candidate in camp, and if
Mhm.
he's not cut by like season's end or whenever you're able to cut someone without losing money, he's going to be probably the first person. Do you remember
Yeah.
how quickly DeAndre Swift signed with the Bears? It was like point 0.1 seconds. That's how quickly Miles Sanders is going to be cut from the Panthers. He is going to be out of there within a nanosecond, I think. And that turns it right over to Hubbard, because you don't know what you have in Brooks.
Mhm.
I know he's been activated, but you don't know what you have. So really, I think it's Hubbard's job to lose in this situation. Um,
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's his job to lose. So the Panthers have mismanaged their team extremely bad. I don't even know how to word that even better than I just did. They paid Miles Sanders all that money. They've now they drafted Jonathan Brooks in the second round, and now they've paid. I don't want to say a journeyman running back because I think he's much better than that. But a running back who's just been decent on some teams. 300 or $33 million a year, or $33 million collective. Um, I think that's a bit of a mismanaged, you know, team because they have so many other holes to fill in Carolina that I don't think you needed to pay a running back that much. But this is the way the NFL has
well,
gone with using multiple running backs. We were just talking about Bijan, him and Tyler Algier, Brees Hall, and Braylon Allen. The Eagles even, Saquon Barkley gets a majority of the touches, but there's guys like Jalen and Kenneth Gainwell that do spell him from rushes at times. So I do think this is the way the NFL works. But again, it's crazy to think that they paid him this after drafting
well,
Brooks in the second.
well,
And
you said Hubbard was a journeyman running back. They
no, I said
drafted
he's
him.
better than that.
You said he's been on a couple teams. He's been on this
Who am I
team.
thinking? Oh, who I'm thinking
You
of?
think? Are you thinking of Miles Sanders?
I'm thinking
And
of Foreman. I don't know why. My
okay, I'm
brain
like,
went
because
directly
I'm
to
like
him.
looking. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, they drafted him. I mean,
No, that
they
was my
drafted him in
mistake.
21 in the fourth round. Um, so the thing is, what did they pay Sanders? They paid him
Almost, I
like
think about the same thing. I think.
so. They're.
I
I
don't know
mean, I
why
don't
my
know what
brain went to Foreman.
I don't know what what the guarantees or whatever. So they pretty much invested like 60. grand or $60 million or close to it in running backs, in two
Yeah,
running backs.
4 years.
33 and 33.2. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that.
Sanders?
Yeah, no, 4 years, 25 million.
Okay.
So that's, $58
58.
million, dollars, $58
50.
million dollars in a second round pick in that running back room. That's
Yeah.
that's insane to think about. Damn, I
But
can't
I
believe my
mean,
dumbass was thinking of Deontay Foreman.
it's
But anyway.
it's okay. I remember when I first started to watch football. It's all right. It could, dude. It could turn out. He could turn out to be a guy. You know what I mean? He's 25, which
He's just
is
solid.
yeah. He's dependable. I mean, especially in fantasy, he's always been dependable
He does have a
since
really
coming
good
in.
running back name, though.
Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard. Like, I feel like that's just a solid running back name.
That's a
Um,
real name too. That's weird.
Next, speaking of Jonathan Brooks, one I wanted to talk about real quick with him was that obviously he's questionable this week. He has been activated, but still questionable. Do you think this hurts his value at all in Dynasty?
Yeah, slightly.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
just because
Slightly. Nothing crazy, though.
no, but I do think it's Hubbard's job to lose, and I think they kind of paid him for it to be his job to lose. So, um, in that aspect, I feel like Brooks being hurt that kind of hurts him,
Mhm.
like literally and
Figuratively.
figuratively. Like it's like, dude, you're not here, and this guy's been doing pretty solid for us. Now you're gonna you got to kind of have another obstacle in the way,
With a
you know,
shitty offensive line, with a pretty bad
dude.
offense in general around him, Hubbard's
Which
been the
is
best part of that offense.
yeah, and they're just that team's just they're lost for a long time since making that trade with Chicago. They are like, whew,
Well, since the downfall of Cam Newton, that team has
yeah,
um, really been on the downside. But they weren't done with the moves. They traded Jonathan Mingo to Dallas for a fourth round pick. Let's not forget, Jonathan Mingo was a second round pick 2 years ago in the NFL draft, and now he's traded for a fourth. I was never high on Mingo. I didn't really see a second round pick in him when he was drafted. Uh, this was kind of surprising, and surprising that Dallas would even pay it. What do you think about this?
so like, what's the bigger like mind fuck? Him getting drafted in the second round, or the plethora of needs by Dallas and they trade for a wide receiver?
I
Like
I think
it's like,
that's another badly managed team. I mean, that's Jerry Jones's fault all the way up and down. But they're talking about starting Cooper Rush over Trey Lance, which that should be the opposite. You should at least see what you have. They
yeah.
trade for Jonathan Mingo. I mean, CD Lamb's banged up. Dak is gone now.
Well, CeeDee Lamb might play this week, but Micah Parsons hasn't played in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and you trade for a wide receiver. I'm like,
Yeah. They did
what are you
need a
doing?
second one though. They've
Sure.
been hurting. Brandon Cooks has been out. Uh, they needed something. I don't think Jonathan Mingo is really a difference maker, but
No.
I was just very surprised to see this and how quickly they pulled the plug on it. Like we were saying, a team that it needs to get younger.
If you look at it this way, if that team's willing to give up on him, a team that is like you have in a wide open spots. You know what I mean? You're the Carolina Panthers. You stink. Excuse me. Um, you had all the time and opportunity to shine there, and you fumbled it. So now he moves on to Dallas, and it's like, what's he
What
gonna do
problem?
there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like
Maybe a change of scenery will be good. I guess we'll see what happens with that. Next trade that we had was Mike Williams traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one for a fifth. This one really didn't make sense to me either. Another boundary down the field receiver, just like George Pickens. I think they needed somebody, that could eat up the middle of the field, get open quickly, and Mike Williams is not that
if he
guy.
stays on the field, yeah,
I don't, at this point, I obviously, I think we all knew Mike Williams was gone. The second one, Devontae Adams got there, and two, the second he fell, 3 weeks ago on a
yeah.
deep route, he fell down, and Aaron Rodgers was pissed. We all kind of saw the writing on the wall, but I don't think Pittsburgh was the right spot for him.
Your boy, dude.
I'm not
Your
worried
boy.
about George Pickens at
Your
all with
boy,
Mike
dude.
Williams. Nobody's worried about George
Dude,
Pickens.
I was worried about George Pickens before Mike Williams.
He's been having a very solid season. He's been
He's
in your
a
starting lineup for the Dynasty Dog duel. Let's see here. How many times? Uh, one, two, three, four times.
Are they all my losses? 4 in a row?
No, no. The first week, and no, your three of the four wins have been George Pickens weeks. So I mean,
I think he's a diva, but I mean,
listen, we all know all about that here in Philadelphia. I don't.
yeah, but he's not even
He's
in the
damn
same
good.
ilk. Not even the same ilk.
He also hasn't had the quarterback. I think Russ has made a little bit of a difference. I think he was playing all right with Justin Fields. That was another debacle in of itself that we're not going to get into with the
Yeah.
Russell Wilson and Justin Fields situation. But Will Levis is back to start this week. I think everybody thought he was done because they kind of seemed like they were ready to just pull the plug and let Mason Rudolph finish the season. He had the shoulder injury. But maybe he just wasn't healthy, and now they're going to give the reins back. We'll see what happens. But he has not looked good at all.
No,
Uh,
dude.
no, it's been pretty bad, unfortunately, for him.
I mean, it's just enough. He's not doing enough with the little that he has. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's not much there for him to do to work with. But yeah, I mean, you got a young tight end in the name I can't pronounce. You got Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard's been playing
Well,
well.
Tajay's been injured a little. Has been injured this
Yeah,
season.
but I mean, you got young guys on the team that you kind of grow with, and it's like doesn't seem like they're really meshing well.
I think they had
I
a
don't know what it
solid
is.
team before DeAndre Hopkins got traded.
Yeah,
I mean,
Calvin
we saw
Ridley.
what Calvin Ridley, who really hasn't been all that great.
Mm-mm.
DeAndre really showed out this week, but hasn't done much of anything. So it's either it's put up or shut up time for the rest of this year for Will Levis
Mm-hmm.
because they could definitely make a change at quarterback.
And it definitely seems with the trend of teams around the league kind of pulling the young quarterback early. You know,
For
it's
sure.
like with Richardson and Young. I mean, now Young's going back in, but they're kind of getting gun shy with him. Even with Justin Fields, they yanked him out. He's a young quarterback too, so they're
Who's
kind
playing
of
fairly well too.
yeah. And that's something I don't agree with, but that they should have pulled him. But teams are making the real quick hook on young guys. They don't have the patience
Just
for it.
like that
So
old comedian thing where they throw the hook out there and the
yeah,
whole guy, like the SpongeBob episode
yeah.
where SpongeBob would put his hand out
Put
and
his hand on
fans would
the
cheer and
boo. Yeah.
Squidward's hand would go out. A little bit of SpongeBob nostalgia there. Actually, Rich, your team does get a little stronger this week. CMC is back and possibly supposed to play this week against Tampa. Well, how do you feel? Do you think he's
He's
going to
like
take his throne again?
he's like he's annoying, dude. He's like so annoying. He seems like he's always hurt. Like he's hurt all the time.
It's been, to be honest, it's been about a year and a half since we've really had to worry about injuries with CMC. I
Yeah,
think
but every
last
other
year he
year.
really showed. Yeah, I mean, last year he showed he could stay healthy.
Did he
Um,
play? I don't think he played the whole year. Did he play
I
the whole
think
year?
close to it, I believe. I mean, to get most of the season out of a running back nowadays is kind of like a
Yeah.
win of itself.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see him back. Do you think he still belongs in the conversation of top five, top seven running backs in
Dude,
Dynasty?
no.
I think he still belongs in the top seven. I
You think he's number 7?
I think he. Yeah, I'd have to look at my rank. Yeah, he did play the whole season last year, except week 18. But
Did he?
I think they didn't play all their starters that year, and he played the whole year the week before too, or the year before too. So he's been
Did he?
healthy for some
I then
time.
what
That's
the
what I'm
hell is it
saying.
then? I
It's
feel like
just because
he's
he's been gone for so long. You feel
yeah.
like he's just been.
It's been all the time.
Yeah, it's just especially since we thought he was going to be back for year one or week
And,
one, and then
and the
just
thing is, this is
disappeared.
the weirdest thing. This is the weirdest thing with him because it was like there was nothing out there with this. Like, and I know they don't care about fantasy or they don't care about this, but and that. But when
They
it
care
comes down
about
to it,
betting.
exactly. Well, it doesn't seem like they do. They make so much revenue off the betting and gambling industries with this, and like nobody knew CMC was hurt. Nobody knew he was the severity of how injured he was. That he had to fly to Germany to get whatever. What did he get? Like platelets. Like he got that thing. I think Kobe did it one time. It was like he got like some weird platelet therapy, some shit.
Mhm.
But like no one knew. It was like consensus. He was like, all right, you're top one in redraft. You're one in redraft. CMC. And then it's like, Week 1, oh, he's not ready. Okay. Week 2, he's not playing. Week 6, not playing. I'm like, what the fuck? Week 10, he's at week 10.
And he's projected to be back. Let's see if that actually happens. But I do have him as my running back 6 in Dynasty. I could see pushing him back down to 8, but part of me thinks he could be. It's hard to call CMC a league winner because he kind of is a league winner. But because you usually, when you say league winner, you think if it's a guy that you're taking later on in your drafts that really comes out of nowhere. But this is a guy who hasn't played in 9 weeks, about to come back in week 10, and could possibly lead some teams to a championship here because he is, when healthy, 1A, 1B best running back in football with Derrick Henry
Oh man, you're
and
dissing Saquon
Saquon.
like that,
Yeah,
huh?
1A, 1B, 1C, whatever,
Yeah.
whoever you want to throw in there. Just those guys are just have been dominant for so long. It's kind of hard to tell myself that CMC is not the best running back on the field when he's healthy or close to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good argument. Um, I would have to really look at the list to see, but off the top of my head, I mean, at least what I've seen this year, it is a resurgence of the
The elder
running back.
statesman.
Yeah, like I'm glad to see that because it's like I'm so tired of saying like, oh, let's look at this young running back, let's get this young running back, and like not all of them are good. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're just going to replace him. Derrick Henry is it's showing you that he's irreplaceable in Tennessee. He's been like phenomenal. He's like I don't understand what I'm watching at this point. And
He's
then
30 years old too, which
it's it's insane, but like if you just listen to the way he takes care of his body and like they say it every time he's on TV, his like workout and all that shit. I'm like, dude, how does someone do that?
hmm,
Like if you look up his workout regimen, it's unreal. Same with trying to replace Saquon in New York.
right. Right. They said they could, they said they were going to do it. And
Tracy's been nice. He's been a nice
he's been solid.
like little
Yeah.
find, but nothing anywhere near Barkley.
Some more eligible players that came back off of IR. Nico Collins, designated to return, questionable this week, along with Tank Dell. I'm excited to see those two healthy on the field together, kind of like what we saw last year without Stephon Diggs. I think Tank Dell reminds us that the dude is a very solid wide receiver 2 in this league, high end 3, borderline 2 in regards to fantasy.
Hmm.
And then it's Nico Collins was absolutely fucking destroying it before he got injured.
Yeah.
So it's glad to see both of those guys back. Stroud's kind of taking a step back, and it's possibly because he hasn't had his normal offense healthy, but it'd be interesting to see.
Do you think with you saying that Stroud playing not as well for consecutive weeks with the trend in young quarterbacks getting yanked, is he above getting yanked out of the
Oh, for
game?
sure. He's
Okay.
fine. I mean, the Texans, first of all, he hasn't been. When I say he's on a downward trend, I don't even mean like as in what Bryce and Levis have done. He's more or less slowed down in year 2,
Yeah.
right? The Texans are still really a good football team. He's nowhere close to getting pulled. It's just a year 2 slump. I don't even want to call it that because he's
I
still
think they got
solid.
film on him.
Yeah, he's been
That's what it
very
is.
solid. It's just not what we saw last year. So
Yeah.
uh, next one, Dak going to the IR. Dallas is done. I think they've been done, but now without him, because they were saying I saw right before we came on 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
He's cooked. That team is cooked. I don't
It,
really. I mean, he has a contract there, so he's going to have some dynasty value. So
this
it's
this I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, God.
I don't feel comfortable paying a first round pick for Dak in Dynasty right now, even in Superflex, just because of the injury, his age, that team around him isn't looking too great.
Right.
I don't know how I feel anymore about Dak, and I thought highly of Dak coming into this year, but they
Yeah, and
proved me
then
wrong
it,
this
it
season.
kind of so it reminds me they the Dallas Cowboys remind me of the way that the Raiders were ran with Al Davis for like the longest time. Like when you just have like an old geezer with a lot of money who's just doing whatever the fuck he wants and like doesn't have people in charge of who know football.
Mhm.
Like it's a guy with an expensive hobby that like is just like does whatever the fuck he wants. And like the Raiders haven't recovered since, have moved to a different state, and still haven't recovered. So I see Dallas like it's just like Jerry Jones has like this team hostage and it's just doing all this crazy
I like
shit.
how you said
Like
that.
he does. Like he paid Dak after every single person got paid. Every single quarterback got paid. So you have to pay him out the ass. At that point, you're just like cut your losses and draft a guy. Now you're paying him what 60 million a year?
Right. I mean, he is a good quarterback.
Not 60 million good, dude.
True. I mean, it's kind of how the market has gone though in the NFL.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. He didn't get ahead of it. Like, oh, you see all the wide receivers signing. Uh Devontae Smith is worth way more than $90 million. You know what I mean? I think
True.
his contract was for about 90. And then you see everyone else start to sign their contract. I think wasn't Jefferson like 140 or some shit like that. I'm
Something
like
crazy.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Chase is going to be even higher than that. You got to sign him before you got to get ahead of the curve.
Well,
And
Chase is owed money too, so that's gonna
yeah,
be really
that's
interesting how
going to be a
that plays out.
debacle.
Yeah. Brian Robinson out with a hamstring. I don't think I've seen hamstring injuries this bad in my life. You know, Dax has a hamstring. B Rob's out with a hamstring. Um, just multiple players missing weeks. AJ Brown had an injured hamstring for a few weeks. This hamstring
Everyone's got an
epidemic. Yeah, all our
They got
hamstrings.
yeah. As we sit here out of shape talking about people's conditioning.
It just sucks. Uh, Drake London out questionable this week with a hip injury. Caught a touchdown pass. Really nice play. Came down with something on his hip. He's out. Somehow Keon Coleman and uh, Amari Cooper are both out this week with wrist injuries where they high fiving and just broke each other's
I
wrists.
don't know.
I don't know what the
So
fuck's
that
happening there.
sounds suspect there, dude.
T Laws being possibly out this week. I know that's your guy. We're playing each other this week, so I'm sorry that happens to you, but I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
That
kind of
team,
screwed.
that team needs an overhaul too. I think Doug is toast by the end of this season. I'm surprised he's made it this long. Um, T Law has been okay, but he's had a lot of drops with those wide receivers and just a lot of bad wide receiver play.
Yeah, that is, I don't. I mean, he's my boy, and he's just had so many he's hasn't had bad throws, but like guys are just like alligator arms. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it's just like I texted you during the game when they were playing the Eagles. I'm like, dude, he's hit him in the chest. Like, what do you? He can't ask for anything better than that. I'm like,
True. True. I I don't know. I don't think he was worth that money either. To be honest with you,
no.
whatever he got paid. Um, Chris Olave is seeing more doctors with another. I think this is sixth concussion. He's on the Tua trajectory right now. It's scary because that injury looked really bad this past week. Uh, Derek Carr just throwing hospital balls out there and getting dudes depleted. So
Yeah.
I think
What do you
Chris Olave.
What do you
Go ahead.
think of that?
What do you mean, Derek
Like
Carr
he's like
or
no, Olave. He's like getting second opinions by guys who
yeah,
are
that's what I
like
was saying. Other doctors.
eliminating footballs or eliminating football. Like, is there a chance that he like retires or?
I don't think he retires, but I think if I don't think on this one he retires is what I'm saying. I think if it continues to happen, I think there needs to be a discussion because look at Tua, man. Like it's scary the concussions we're seeing nowadays.
Yeah, I think
You know,
Olave has more.
I think he does. I think this is his sixth
Jesus
somehow.
Christ.
Yeah, I think he really needs to sit down and have a conversation with himself. Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck is happening with
I
my
wonder if
brain?
there's like a number. Probably not. Like of concussions to get, and you're like, oh, dude, if you get one more, you're really fucked. Like, is
There
there a
has,
number for that?
I don't know. We have to ask former WWE superstar Chris Nowitzki on that one because that is the guy you would ask about these type of things, obviously, because he's now like the head of concussions for something. I don't know what he does, but
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
do you remember Chris Nowitzki, the wrestler?
I know, no, but I know him
Somehow with his
from.
Harvard degree and everything like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. But I know the name because I've seen interviews with him about. Um,
concussions.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a very intelligent dude. He did that study with Chris Benoit. Obviously, you and I are big wrestling fans, so we know all about the whole Chris Benoit story. He talks about Tua's injuries
I did
every
my
so
10
often.
my 10-page paper, my like finishing thesis in college on Chris Benoit and his concussions.
Phew. Really, I didn't know that. That's
Hmm.
actually something I didn't know about you.
Yeah,
Um,
that was fun.
well,
It was a
I'm
lot.
sure
Yeah.
it's a lot of. I can imagine that was a long paper you had there. But let's look ahead to this week coming up, and actually let's talk about the matchup last night between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals lost 34-35. I don't know why I read it like that. I meant to say Ravens won 35-34, but I got the word
Confused
out
me.
there. Yeah, I confused myself to be honest with you. A little bit of dyslexia going on. But it was a fantasy just like frenzy last night in that
Hmm.
game. Joe Burrow, 34 for 56, 428 yards, 4 TDs, 41 over 41 points fantasy. Chase, 11 receptions, 264 yards, 3 TDs, over 55 points.
I didn't
Chase,
hear no bell.
I
I'm
didn't
like,
hear no bells, right? Jesus. Chase Brown, 13 rushing attempts, 42 yards, 1 TD, 9 receptions, 52 yards, 22 points. Lamar, 25 at 33, 290 yards, 4 TDs, 7 rushes, 33 yards, 40.9 points. Mark Andrews, who's had a resurgence,
yeah,
6 receptions, 68 yards, 1 TD, 18.8 points. Derrick Henry, 16 carries, 68 yards, 1 TD, 1 reception, 3 yards, 14.10 points. Rich, would you be shocked to know that in week 10, because this is the week 10 game, this was Derrick Henry's lowest scoring week of the season so far,
how
and
many
it
did
was
you have?
still 14.10. That is still super impressive for a guy who is 30 years old, who is still in the upper echelon of fantasy scoring for running backs. To to have his lowest scoring week and a 14-point output is still very, very good in my opinion.
Dude, if you bet on Derek Carr every single week
Derrick
since the
Henry,
beginning, who did I say? Derek Carr.
yeah, close enough.
Yeah, if you bet on him, you'll fucking lose. You'll definitely lose. But
Yeah,
if you bet on Derrick Henry like every week since the start of the season to score a touchdown, you're probably coming out with making money at the end of the year. Every single
somehow
week, it seems like he's scoring.
somehow if you bet money, I'm sure you lose money on that just because it's like you get negative dollars if
Yeah.
he scores a touchdown. He is running back one on the season right now, and this again, a 14-point game is not going to make him fall out of the top, you know, 7, 6.
Right.
He's probably still going to be in the top three, um, going. It's impressive to see. What would you pay for Derrick Henry right now in fantasy? In dynasty.
Dude,
If you're going to win, don't do this if you're rebuilding for sure.
I don't know. I'd probably go my one.
Hmm. Like a
I'd have
111,
to
112.
yeah, because I'm like right now in our league, I'm what am I set? I'm like 7-2. I think I'm in first or second place in our league. 7-2. I'd probably, especially because I traded for a second round pick with the worst team in the league. So like my first round and second round pick, it really is not going to be far off.
Hmm.
So I'll probably have like the 12th and like 14th pick.
Don't put yourself in the championship already because
Oh, dude, it's already happening. I'm
I know.
getting the belt shined up. Um, I'm projected to beat you actually, 52% now. Look at me. Oh, you're in
But
second place. I'm in first. Okay.
so yeah, I would honestly, I agree with you. I would pay a late first for Derrick Henry. For some reason, I feel like you'd probably have to add a little bit of a sweetener onto that, like a third.
Hmm.
And I'd be willing to do that if I'm trying to win a championship or like a rookie that hasn't done anything. I would throw that in there just to kind of like, I love Marshawn Lloyd, but if you want the 112 and Marshawn Lloyd and you're giving me Derrick Henry on a championship contending team, I think I would do that
Yeah.
just because they're getting a young running back. They're getting a first round pick. They're rebuilding, obviously, at this point. I would definitely go for Derrick Henry in that situation. What do you think?
Hmm. I would. That's actually not a bad idea. I'm gonna go see who has Derrick Henry here. Um, yeah,
It
I
might
mean,
it might seem a little much for a 30-year-old running back, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win fantasy championships here. And Marshawn Lloyd's not going to get you a win this year, obviously, because he's
no,
on IR still. And the 112 does you no good right now. The
right,
111, 112 does no good for you right now. So
right,
you gotta try. And if you
Right.
if you ain't trying, what the fuck's the point?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, I think if you're contending, he wouldn't be a bad guy to go pick up, especially because like you said, dude, he's been running back one. It seems like every single week. So
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out for him. I would completely pay that for him if I could. But let's talk about Jamar Chase because you and I were a bit critical of him going into this season. He is currently wide receiver one on the year, wide receiver five by average, average points per game, which is 18.9. That is not including what he did last night, obviously, because he put up 55 points. I don't
Jesus
think he's
Christ.
falling out of wide receiver one this week.
Mm-mm.
But what do you think about Jamar Chase? Has he moved back up for you? Because he moved up a little bit up my rankings again.
Yeah, he's
Um,
moving up, and I think it kind of helps that T Higgins hasn't played or isn't playing or like what the hell. It seems like every week with him, he's just like tweak something. Like I said, like it's going to happen. He's fucking saving himself. So I think that availability, his wide open. Like who do you got at two? You got the
Andre
I can't pronounce.
Yoshivash, Jermaine
Yeah,
Burton.
God
Those
bless
guys are
you.
solid.
Yeah, whatever the guy. The I can't. What is it? I guess.
Andre Yoshivash. Just call him Yoshi.
Yes,
So
yes, yeah. Him. Um, you got
Steve
Burton,
Irwin's
but
cousin.
huh?
Steve Irwin's cousin's on the team, bro. Trenton Irwin.
Wait, really? Is that his?
No, it's not his cousin. No.
Oh, dude, I was
But
like, wait. Yeah, but they
every
got a
time
bunch.
every time I see Trenton Irwin make a catch, I'm like, crikey,
Crikey.
look at this. Look at the play on that guy.
Isn't he like a? Doesn't he have like long blonde hair too?
It's red. I think he's a redhead, if I'm not
Oh, okay.
mistaken, or it could be
Um,
strawberry blonde. I don't know. I don't know. But
but yeah, he's got like a bunch of nobody surrounding him in terms of wide receivers. So he's like just pretty much taking the cake out there.
I do like Andre Yoshivash and Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton really just hasn't showed anything. There's been some off the field stuff with him. Yoshivash, uh, targeted in the red zone early, was eating pretty well. He kind of slowed down since T. Higgins came back and it's been out. So I think there's a little bit of inconsistency with him, getting on the field. T. Higgins, when he was playing, was producing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what happens with him in this offseason. But I moved Chase from, I had him as my wide receiver seven, and I moved him back up to four. I put him in the same tier, but slightly above A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown has been suffering uh, some really annoying injuries
Like
this
yeah, I
year.
was gonna say like nagging like bullshit.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but Chase has been on another level this year. Obviously, he's got Joe Burrow more than likely than not. Like, there is one fear in my mind that the Bengals don't pay him because the Bengals have historically been a very cheap franchise for
Mm-hmm.
one reason or another. I doubt they let him go because he is such a fan favorite and it's just hard for me to see them let him go
Yeah,
or hard for me to believe that that's what happens.
that would be wild
Yeah.
if they just let him walk.
Where would you have Chase in your rankings if you had to think about it right now?
Probably 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I have him in the same tier as 4 and 5. So
What would it
I'm
be
not
like?
far off. For me, it's Lamb, Jefferson, but I think I'm going to flip that. I keep going back and forth. You can't go
Yeah,
wrong with those two. St.
St.
Brown at
Brown.
three. And then I could even make a case that Chase could go to three at this point because St. Brown has
Hasn't
just
really
been.
been.
No, he's been good. It's just not what we've seen from him because there's other mouths to feed now, and there's
Hmm.
that team has just been so good offensively that it's
Yeah,
super frustrating.
right.
Like that whole team is eating it, but it's eating fantasy points away, if that makes sense. Like one week, David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs will go off. The next week, St. Brown and
Yeah.
Jameson Williams, when he's not suspended, will go off. The portal will go off. It's just
Hmm.
it's you can't predict who's going to go off at what time.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of which, David Montgomery's crushing it. One
The
last
vulture,
thing
dude.
here. He's so damn good though. One last thing I want to touch on. I did, or I'm in the middle of a midseason startup draft right now, right? And
Duh.
we're doing a dynasty startup, but it's the middle of the season just to see what value changes have happened. Lamar Jackson was taken at the number one pick, number one overall. That's over Josh Allen. That's over Patrick Mahomes. That's over uh, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, all those guys. What do you think of Lamar going forward? And is he your MVP right now? Because to
Yeah,
me,
I
he's
was gonna
looking like
say
the MVP.
he's the MVP I think of the year. And 3-time MVP is gonna be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Um, he's been playing out of his mind. He's fun to watch, and it's fun to think about that he was an Eagles pick. Um, that the
Oh,
Eagles
because we traded
traded.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the was it like the 34th overall or 35th, whatever it was. I think it was 34.
No,
Um,
32nd. Because they
was
moved
it?
up to get, they
Was it
moved into the
32nd?
last pick of their first round to
Okay,
take him.
was it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, let me look.
I don't know.
Google that real quick.
Um,
But he has
yeah,
just
he's
been
just been
so
lighting it
good.
up, dude. He's so fun to watch. Um, is this like for fun draft, or is this like an actual league that you're
It's an actual league,
playing?
but it's just for fun.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I
yeah,
never
it was
heard
the
of them starting.
32nd pick.
Okay, I never heard of them starting in the middle of the year. And
Yeah,
what is
it's
it not?
very interesting to see the changes from the
Does it
beginning of
start
the
up
year.
next year then?
No,
Like
it starts
after
in the
this?
middle of the season. Just it'll be what it is. You know what I mean?
That-
We'll
I've never
start with
heard
a
of that in my
0-0
life.
record, and it's like 4 weeks long, essentially, with include well before the playoffs. But I think Lamar deserves to be in that 101, 104
Yeah.
conversation. Because I don't think he's slowing down. I
Mm-mm.
think he's getting even better as a passer. Like I thought Lamar was a decent passer. I never thought he was like elite.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But it's
he's
fun to
just
watch him add to his game for
for
sure.
sure. He is, making plays down the field. His deep ball accuracy to me has gotten a bit better. His short to intermediate has been better this year. Still could be uh, more improved, but if he gets more improved, the league might just blow up.
Yeah. They just got to win the big game, dude. That's all. Like that's all. That's all that's
That
missing.
wouldn't shock me. They are one of my teams for the AFC to make the Super Bowl this year.
I think they can get past Kansas City. I
Offensively,
think
they're
that yeah.
strong. And
Hmm.
defensively, they're good. It's not what we're used to seeing with the Ravens defense because that secondary's kind of been banged up a lot.
Right.
Uh, I think they have some players on the linebacker position, obviously in Roquan, Trenton
Hmm.
Simpson. Their defensive line is just kind of um, decent.
Yeah.
It's just that offense with Derrick Henry. First of all, the league should have never let that fucking happen. Let Lamar get Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers, of course, was probably the only person last night who decided just not to fucking do anything, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Right.
But that whole team looks really good right now, and Lamar
Yeah.
at the helm is what's making it go. Would you take Lamar at 101, or do you think you'd maybe where would you be comfortable taking him? Because I think I'm at the point where 101 to 103, I'd be okay with.
I'd probably take him at one. He
Yeah,
would definitely be in consideration it's two quarterbacks,
yeah, super
tight end
premium.
premium. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, probably.
would that's so that brings up the interesting question of him and Josh Allen, and it's crazy to see that Josh Allen's doing what he's doing with the kind
Literally
of
has.
yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. But I think at this point it would be close between those two for me.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some games that we're looking forward to this week. We have the Patriots at the Bears. The Bears are 6.5 point favorites in this game. This is the Caleb Williams versus Drake May game. Uh, Caleb lost to Jaden Daniels, the 102 pick. Let's see if he can beat the 103 pick this year in Drake May. But let's talk about Drake May here for a second because he's played the last 4 weeks, 6 TDs, 770 yards. I believe it's 4 interceptions, 21 rushes, 209 yards, and 1 TD on the ground. In those
One
4 weeks,
one
he's
concussion.
been, yeah, one concussion. He's been QB 10, QB 7, QB 27. He was on his way to a monster game until he got the concussion, and QB 18. Uh, as of in that time frame, he's QB 9 overall. I feel like we are witnessing something in Drake May because that dude. Let's be honest here. Out of those top three quarterbacks that we saw in this draft, who I think we both agree are immensely talented, he had the least to work with in New England
Oh yeah,
by
for sure.
far.
I mean,
By far.
yeah, I mean, he's just kind of done the best he can with the absolute pile of shit he's been dealt. Um, when you go into a team and it's like you're the rookie quarterback, and then you have rookie wide receivers, you have no veteran presence really anywhere in that team. I guess Ramondre Stevenson, but I mean,
Connor
even him
Heyward,
is like, yeah, but yeah, he's been around the block, but his wide receiving core is like,
super young.
yeah, it's like, and it'll be fun to watch them grow, and develop together because you got Polk, they got your boy, um,
Javon Baker,
Butler, Baker,
not Malcolm Butler. We're going
yeah,
back
that's
up.
what I'm like thinking, yeah. But like they're all young. It's fun to watch a young team kind of grow and see what it'll be next year when they take their year two progression, if they progress. Um, I could see May for sure, progressing. He was my favorite quarterback coming out. Um, I didn't see Daniels going off like this, but I mean, probably some people did. I thought May was going to have that type of season, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's really impressed me so far. All three of these quarterbacks. We're going to talk about Caleb here in a second, but I think to me, just based on 4 weeks with the lack of offensive weaponry he has on that team, I think Drake May has been the most impressive of the top three quarterbacks this season already. You know, obviously, it's hard to say that when Jaden Daniels is a MVP front runner,
He's been playing out of his mind.
but just he's got Terry McLaurin, which is really good. Zach Ertz has had, found the fountain of youth. But I just have been very impressed with the 4 weeks of Drake May. Just as I'm impressed with what Jaden Daniels is doing. I think I tweeted this earlier. We're going to talk about Jaden here shortly, but I tweeted this earlier. The top three guys taken in this past draft all have top 12 dynasty upside to me right now. And you can rank those three however you want at this
Mhm.
point. You can rank Jaden ahead of Caleb ahead of Jaden, May ahead of who, whatever you want. I will have no argument, and I will tell you that you're right because I'm glad to see a quarterback class looking good because it's
Mhm.
been a while since that's happened. Because hell, even Bo Nix is showing me things,
Yeah, he's going under the radar, really.
which is hilarious.
He caught a
But let's
touchdown
go.
last week.
Yeah, he did.
I was like,
From was it Cortland Sutton who
Courtland
threw
Sutton,
that?
because I have Sutton on my team, and I'm like, pass? I'm like, touch. I got the Yahoo update. It was like, Courtland Sutton passed it. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Huh?
maybe they screwed up, and I clicked on it. It was like one passing titty. I'm like, how do you even score that? I'm like, whatever, dude.
But hey, I mean, it's working for him. But let's talk about Caleb here. Kind of been an up and down season for him. 9 TDs, 5 interceptions, 1,665 yards. Um, really has been an up and down season for him. I don't blame a lot of it on Caleb. He has made some mistakes. I think he's playing hero
He
ball a
pisses me
little
off
too
so
much.
fucking much,
He
dude.
does. But I
I took him
will
at
say
102. He shouldn't piss you off.
I do have him in quite a few leagues, but I believe Caleb Williams is going to get this turned around. I do think the offense sucks. I think Matt Eberflus should
Which
have
is
not been the head
crazy.
coach.
It doesn't make any sense. Like I'm like looking, and I'm like, how do you have a top wide receiver draft
Three,
pick? You have
yeah,
you have DJ Moore, who was phenomenal. You have Keenan Allen, who's been, when healthy, one of the most reliable wide receivers there are. And like, what are you doing? Like
it's
I don't get it.
it's the Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron effect. Shane JSN, so he came from Seattle's offensive coordinator last year. JSN, they asked him during the draft, "What do you think about Shane Waldron being the new OC in Chicago?" And he was like, uh, "Is this live? Good luck to those." He basically was like, "Good luck to those guys." Like right then
Yeah,
and
that
there, I was
ain't.
like, "Ooh, that's not good."
Yeah,
But
and you
like
know
that
what?
team has so much offensive like talent, they shouldn't be this bad.
They're like they're like set in the wrong settings. Like there's like you have this awesome like you pretty much have a sports car, but you can't get it out of first gear. You know what I
True.
mean? You're just sitting there and the engine's revving, the RPMs are going, but you can't get it
The
kicked in.
RPMs are going.
You don't know how to drive stick, so you're
It's
like,
like that meme or whatever where it's like a beat up old house with the Ferrari in the driveway.
yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
like if that dude couldn't get DK, JSN, and Lockett going, and we're seeing them produce well in
mhm.
Seattle, and now we're seeing the same thing in Chicago. What are we doing here?
Yeah, and dude, especially if you're given that wide receiver room in Seattle and then what this wide receiver room in Chicago, it's like, it might be him, dude.
You might be the problem. Let's
Yes.
go into the next game here. We have Pittsburgh at Washington. Jaden Daniels, the QB3 on the year, but this is the toughest opponent defensively he has faced. He's had a lot of green light matchup, and I'm not taking anything away from Jaden Daniels, but let's look
Mm.
at the teams he's faced so far. He's played the Giants twice, Cleveland, Baltimore, Tampa, Cincy, Arizona, Carolina, and the second best defense I could say in Chicago. Um, he's had a pretty green light schedule so far for his fantasy season. And whenever you're going up against a guy like TJ Watt, I almost said JJ Watt. I was trying to keep from saying that. But whenever you're going up against a guy like TJ Watt, it's going to be a tough night. And Mika Fitzpatrick is there. Joey Porter looks solid. Um,
He
this could be
definitely
the
has to be
toughest
on his
game.
toes for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has to be on his toes for sure.
Do you think
Um,
they can win this one? They're 2.5 favorites at home.
I don't know. That sounds like a trap.
Sounds like a
Um,
trap to you.
yeah, I mean, it's like the defense is great for Pittsburgh, but like the quarterback room, I'm always going to say Russ is cooked. He's been cooked, um, even though he's been playing okay. Um, so it really isn't the defense that's the issue for Pittsburgh. It would be obviously, the other side of the ball, but I don't know. I think Pittsburgh pulls it out.
Yeah, so do I. I think Pittsburgh wins this one. I think this is going to be a very I want to say pedestrian because he's been so good. I think this is going to be a very pedestrian
Mm,
output for Jaden Daniels. Like I'm not saying bench him by any stretch of the imagination because he's going to get you at least more than 15 points, but 15 points for the way he's been playing so far
yeah.
is just a little bit of a
Yeah.
letdown.
Right.
But I do think this could just be a tough week, tough ask for a rookie quarterback to go up against TJ Watt. It's tough for anybody. They have Alex Highsmith too, who's just
Right.
very good edge rusher as well. I do think they can keep him contained. But Rich, we have to talk about quickly our sponsor, Couch Scouts. If you go on the Couch Scouts website, the link will be listed here below in the episode description. You use the promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, at the checkout. You will get 15% off. What fantasy outlet has IDP film, has Devi film? Nobody. Cal Scouts has it all. You get a couple different membership options that you can sign up for. Make sure you go on to Couch Scouts websites. The link will be in the description below. Use the promo code DOGS and stay ahead of the game and let the Couch Scouts know that the dogs want to get on the couch and watch some film with them. So, again, make sure you check it out.
Love it, dude. Love it. I
Seamless,
can't,
as they say.
I can't tell you how bad I hate my dogs getting on my couch. I can't tell you how bad I hate it. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're a guy who sleeps with your dogs in your bed, aren't you? You
Oh,
sick
100%.
freak. Oh God, I
So
hate it so much. I hate it.
let's get into this next game here. We have Denver heading to Kansas City. We talked about Bo Nix earlier. He is surprisingly QB8 on the season. He has had a bit of more rushing in his game than I thought he was going to. Um, I do think Kansas City wins this outright. But what I really want to talk about is the golden oldies on this team in DeAndre Hopkins, and somehow Kareem Hunt has found fantasy relevance again.
What year is it?
Yeah, what year is this that the Kansas City Chiefs have Kareem Hunt looking solid again?
Yeah,
Running back 14 since week 4. It's just insane to think that he is in the top 15 of running backs and he's only played 5 weeks and he's like, I thought he was toast,
yeah.
like with Nutella on it. I just thought he was toast. I love Nutella so much, by the way.
Not
Um,
Vegemite.
no, not Vegemite. Actually, I've always wanted to try that, but I've heard
It tastes
very
like
negative
ass.
reviews. Does it?
Oh yeah,
Uh, I Let me ask you. Let's start with Kareem Hunt here. What would you pay for Kareem Hunt?
a third round pick.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. If I had to pay 2/3, I'd be okay, but I'd want like a fourth back. Like
Mm,
if I give you 2/3, I want Kareem Hunt and a fourth back because I know my pick's going to be a late third, right? And I'm giving you another third on top of it.
yeah,
I'm thinking that your fourth is going to be early, so I'm getting that back. So it's kind of like a pick swap, and you're getting
that's a
Kareem
lot
Hunt.
of thinking right there for a Kareem Hunt.
Listen, that's all I do. That's all I do is think about dynasty and fantasy football all day, every day. But if you're trying to
Oof.
win, he could give you decent running back 2 numbers. I don't think he has it in him to finish as a running back one, like from week 4 on. But I think he could be a top 20, maybe 20 to 22 finish for
Sure.
the season in
Do
that
you
time
think
span.
the way he's been playing, did he earn himself another contract or what? No, well, not saying just with Kansas City, maybe somewhere else, but did he earn himself into another contract or?
I, that's kind of hard to say. I think Kansas City just like, we saw Isaiah Pacheco look good. I think Pacheco's a good running back. Don't get me
Well, do
wrong.
you think what I'm saying is, do you think he comes off the couch next season, or does he open up in camp
There's a
somewhere?
good. I think I think it's going to be the same situation we saw with him this year,
Really,
where he kind of gets signed maybe early in the season again. Like I don't think he's going to get paid by a team
even
unless
on
there's an
maybe on a
injury in the
one, yeah,
offseason. Like a team loses like I don't know, DeAndre Swift or something, and they need to bring in a running back because they think they're a running back away. Like it wouldn't shock me if they paid Kareem Hunt,
really.
his
So you don't think okay? You don't think he earned a opening day roster?
uh, if they win the Super Bowl, maybe he's back on the Chiefs again. You know,
Okay.
I could see that. I don't see much long term from Kareem Hunt. Like I think he just looks good because he's had a couple weeks off, and
How old is he? I don't even think he's that old.
I think he's 29 if I'm not
Is he?
mistaken. I'll Google that real quick. But the other player I want to talk about um, is DeAndre Hopkins, who had a really decent resurgence last week. It was kind of
Love it.
yeah, I know he's 29. Um, D Hop,
29?
yeah, D Hop has had a very pedestrian season. Obviously,
Because he's
Tennessee
had a
lost.
pedestrian goddamn quarterback, Mike.
Yeah, I know. But
I'm talking
anyway,
about my boy.
he came out last week, 8 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 TDs against Tampa. Do you think he can keep up this kind of production? Like he could fill in that Rasheed Rice role, where they're just going to feed him a lot. Uh, it remains to
So,
be seen. What would you pay for DeAndre Hopkins?
well, guess what? In the wee hours of the night when I was in redraft, I was awake and I snagged him and I got him for free.
Oh, on the waiver wire?
Yeah, I scooped him up like a crook in the night. Um, I don't know, maybe a two.
A late two. That's kind of where
Yeah,
I'm leaning as
dude,
well.
I don't think he's slowed down. I think the issue was he was lightening up in Arizona and they were kind of like fumbling around. Then he went and took the paycheck in Tennessee, which was like kind of like what the fuck, dude? Like they
That
stunk.
was a
Like you
very
knew
surprising move.
yeah, but like you knew they stunk. So like they weren't going to be able to get you the ball, and then you're like kind of pissed off about it. So now he's back on a good team. I don't think he's bad. I think he could be a one. I don't think he's lost a step. I think he's just been put himself in shit circumstances. Like, yeah, sure they're going to pay you in Tennessee. They paid Calvin Ridley 90 fucking $1 million, and they suck. Like that, of course. Like, yeah, you want to come here and play? We're going to pay you out the ass, but you're going to play for a dog shit team. I think that's kind of what happened to him.
Mhm.
And now that he's on Kansas City with the best quarterback in the league, he's going to light it up.
Yeah, I could see lighting up for me is a stretch, but I could see him being fed pretty well. I think him and Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelsey kind of complement each other pretty well. He's a guy, DeAndre Hopkins, who's not going to be an elite separator at this point in his career, but he's kind of the guy you can play on the boundary and have him go get it.
And he
Uh,
catches everything.
he does. He's got
He's
some
got like a
big stuff.
98% catch rate, dude.
Yeah.
Like I forget. I think his last year in Arizona was like 98%. It's like you catch every single thing that was thrown to you, which is fucking insane.
I'm glad to see him on a championship contender team because, like you were mentioning earlier, he is a guy that you and I have been big fans of since his
Hmm.
time in Houston. I do think he deserves a championship, but I kind of agree with you. A late second is the most I'm willing to pay. If I have to throw a third on top of that, that's fine. Again, more sweeteners. Um,
Yeah.
I would be willing to pay that if I'm trying to win. Obviously, I'm not
Hmm.
paying that if I'm rebuilding, but I think he could give you wide receiver two numbers, wide receiver three numbers.
Sure.
He could be your flex option. Um, I don't think he's a wide receiver one. I think he's a
No.
borderline two at the most. So I think three flex is more of what you're hoping for, and that's okay.
Yeah.
especially with the amount of
I
injuries we've
think he's,
seen
what is
this
he,
year.
like, is he 33, 30? What is he? How old is he? 33, I think.
I think he's 32. I think I want to say 32.
92. He was born in 92, so I'm
I thought you were going
32.
to tell me he was 92 years old, and I was going to
No,
throw up because.
he's a month older than I am. He's 32.
Oh, all right. Well, see, I was right again. I might
That,
have
but
gotten
it
the.
seems like we're talking about him like he's 42. Like it's like he's winding down here, dude. I think he's the man, dude. I love him.
Yeah, the golden oldies of this team.
Yeah,
Travis Kelsey, Kareem Hunt, and DeAndre Hopkins. Back in 2015, this team would have been would have put up 90 points against
yeah,
everybody.
really.
But let's get into the last game here before we get into our Xavier Restrepo profile. Um, the Miami Dolphins versus the Los Angeles Rams. I want to talk about Devon Achane. He must be thanking his lucky stars that Tua Tagovailoa is back. He was running back 52 from weeks 3 through 7 without Tua in the lineup. Running back 52. That's
Ay
not.
caramba.
It took me a while to find him on
Considering
the.
like I'm probably running back 60, like it's like
it
whoa.
took me It took me forever to find him on the list from weeks 3 through 7. But now that Tua has been back, he's put up running back two finishes back to back, 28.2 points and 33.9 points, respectively, those 2 weeks. Do you think Devon Achane is just a running back one superstar, or do you feel more comfortable with him as like your running back two,
I'd probably be more comfortable with my running back too, just because
but a very high upside too?
sure, but his injury history always kind of scares me. It's like he seems like he's such a fragile player. Like every week, I feel like every week he shows up on the report.
He's just small. I wouldn't say fragile because I think that's a little bit of um, a harsh thing, but I would say he's
Ouch.
smaller than most running backs. He's like I think 5'9", 5'10", 170 pounds, 180 pounds. So he's smaller. So obviously those guys usually get banged up a little bit more. I
Yeah.
think Miami with Tua at the helm, because obviously running back 52 without Tua, that's absolutely foul.
Mm.
But I think with with him as your running back one on that team, um, with Tua at the helm, I think he could be a guy who is a running back for the years to come, like kind of like a Alvin Kamara esque type
You
back
think
who's
so?
going to get for sure. I think Kamara is also on the smaller side. I think he's a bit bulkier than Achane
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but I think Miami uses him in such a way when Tua is healthy that he could be that guy who's just going to absolutely destroy fantasy.
Hmm.
I have him as my running back 7 in my rankings right now. There are people that have him above Bijan and Brees and Saquon and CMC, and there's no way I could put him above any of those guys or
Just because
guys.
but with the way Miami uses running backs too, dude, it's kind of like it's how it's annoying with Detroit, where you have Jameer Gibbs who's going to run for a million yards, get to the one, and then you got David Montgomery rushing in for the 1 yard touchdown. So it's like they use Mostert like that, and before they had Jeff Wilson, they had like 3 or 4 guys. I remember in the offseason they signed all 4 of the running backs. They had
And they
4 running
drafted
backs.
Jalen Wright too.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? That there
uh,
scares me.
You think that scares you? Because I still think, even with those guys, he's shown to be the running back one on that team. Like I said, and we said it earlier, without Tua, that team is absolute dumpster fire. And I think,
Yeah,
honestly, I think that's a team that needs to address the quarterback position, even if it's just like a fourth or fifth round pick type of draft pick for them,
yeah.
just in case, like a high upside quarterback pick, whatever they want to do with it, or bring a guy in, trade for somebody, because Tua's health, you know, is going to be a topic of discussion every single year. It's just,
Er,
it's
It's going to be
unfortunate.
every single week at this point.
Yeah, it's
Like
unfortunate
if
because Tua
sure,
really does make that offense go. Like
yeah,
you can't tell me otherwise at this point
right,
because they just look so bad without him.
right.
However many years it's been now. But I could see Chain being uh, a top guy, in your top 10 fantasy finishers for running backs every single year because he's going to get you those explosive, 35-point games. And then he's going to give you the borderline pedestrian for him,
Mhm,
15-point games, and there's nothing wrong with that because he's the type of
sure.
dude that could take. a simple screen or a simple handoff, 65 yards to the house, and that just could be your whole
Right.
week, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
You're just going to have to deal with the missing 4 weeks, and hopefully it's early on in the season where you can kind of bounce back um, with him. But I, I'm interested to see where this team goes because they are a very talented offense. It's just they've been banged up all year.
Yeah. And what are they? What's their record? Are they like 2-6?
I think they're yeah. I think three. I want to
Two,
say
three,
three
and
wins.
6.
Yeah. Um, real quick, this last thing. Last thing I want to mention is let's hope Puka doesn't throw any punches this week because that was the most
I didn't.
frustrating
You know
thing.
what? I didn't see it. Like I just got. I forget what I was doing. Like I was probably running around with, like the girls or something, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what the fuck happened? I'm like, no. I'm like, he's back. He's finally back, and he's like, he's been ejected for punching someone. I didn't see it.
Right.
Did
He's
he
got
like
to be
just straight
smarter.
jaw someone, or like what happened?
So if I remember correctly, because I hadn't watched it in a couple days, but he kind of like was down. The dude kind of pushed him as he was getting up, and he kind of when he got up, he got in the dude's face, and he kind of threw like a nice little hook in there with the helmet on.
That's something I'll never, ever,
I
ever
think the
understand. It's
frustration
like
levels just get
why
so high, you forget the dude's wearing a helmet.
every time you see like a closed fist going right for helmet, why don't you like slap him or like mush face him or something? But you're just like cold cock him in a helmet. Like, oh, what the fuck? Like, cool, go. Your fingers are all like this. So, like,
Yeah.
looks like to his hand. Like,
Oh, dude.
like, dude,
He's
what are
got
you
to be
doing?
smarter than that, though. He's got
Yeah,
to be smarter than
he's a
that.
young kid, dude. That's what it is.
True. True.
Um,
But let's talk about a future dynasty asset. Let me pull up the old PowerPoint here because you know I'm a big PowerPoint guy. I did say last week I'm going to be
fuck.
trying to do a rookie profile every week or every other week. And this, Rich, let's go back in time here. If I remember correctly, a certain Richard wanted to go to the Miami Hurricanes to study marine biology.
Yeah, someone
Um,
did.
yeah, who
Didn't,
was that? Was that you?
didn't work out that way, but I did. I did.
You were a big Miami fan. I still
I
think you
still
are.
am.
Yeah,
Still
still a
am,
big
baby.
Miami fan.
Very,
Um,
very, very sore subject for me.
let's break the fourth wall here a little bit. My wife is a marine biologist, and Rich likes to remind her every time he sees her that he was supposed to go to school for
I was,
marine biology.
but like, my yeah, my parents didn't want to pay the application fee when I was in high school, so it was rough. It was rough for me.
Yeah,
I had everything filled out. I had the essay. I did everything, dude. Now you're gonna make me all upset.
yeah, yeah. You're never gonna be able to sleep tonight because you're gonna be texting your
I
mom.
feel like
I
fucking.
can't believe you've done this.
I feel like what's his name at the end of dodgeball? It's like I should have won that tournament. Like I should have won that.
uh, but let's talk about wide receiver Xavier Restrepo, Miami, 5'10, 197. Right now, I'm projecting him to be a second round, third round pick. Late second feels about right to me. So let's go into some of the things about Xavier Restrepo. Some stats and more I have here. Did that come up on the screen? Let's make sure. Here, yep, okay.
Sorry, my candle's going fucking nuts over here. They put it out.
Was it a Yankee?
No, it was a it's this. I never seen the show, but it's the Stranger Things one. But it smelled
Uh,
magnificent. But that was the last of it because I burned the hell out of it. Like every
uh,
time I'm down here.
let's talk about his 2023 stats. 85 receptions, 1,092 yards, 6
You know
TDs,
what? If I
20.
had my magnifying glass, I'd be able to see what the fuck you wrote here, Mike.
It's not even that small, you gremlin.
I can't see a fucking thing.
Can I make it bigger? There you go.
Pause. Yeah, just rub it, dude. Just rub it.
Anyway,
It'll get bigger.
anyway, 2024 as what we're going on right now. 51 receptions, 856 yards, 9 TDs. Some stats I pulled off of PFF. 85.3 receiving grade, 2.53 yards per route run, 90.1 slot usage. That's something we're going to talk about here shortly. 7.7 yards after catch, which is very solid. But Richard, how would you feel if I told you that he is now the Miami's all-time receptions and receiving yard leader?
That's a surprise. Just looking at the names you have there, besides Philip Dorsett, which is an
I was
absolute
just
trash can name of a name, but Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne and
Michael
even
Irvin,
Michael Irvin, dude,
Andre
old number
Johnson.
47.
Yeah, Andre Johnson. Like to think he is the receiving leader for a school with such talent is
Prestigious fucking wide receivers, dude. Andre Johnson was one of my favorite
he is one
ever
of
to
my
watch, dude.
favorites. Exactly. Reggie Wayne has just been was such a super consistent wide receiver in
Yeah,
this league.
Hall of Famer.
Santana Moss, probably a very underrated guy that nobody
I
thinks about
agree.
all that often. But to think this dude has passed, obviously he's been at Miami. I think this is his senior year, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Um, he's obviously been there for a bit, but most of his production came in these past two seasons. So it's super impressive to see a guy like Restrepo do this, passing some guys that are in the Hall of Fame now
Yeah.
in the NFL. It's just a really cool thing to think about that this guy could be just a very up and coming wide receiver. I obviously
Cam Ward's been fucking ripping the ball down the field.
Man, you
So
missed last week's episode where I talked about Cam Ward. He is going to be my quarterback one of this class. I think if I were to put him in last year's class, he would be my QB 4 or 5. Him and Penix would be right neck and neck with each other. Like he's going to be very good, I think.
mhm.
But let's
Did you?
get into God.
That's off topic. Did you mention where you think he's going to go, Cam Ward?
I mentioned he's a first round pick lock, in my opinion.
No, I meant
Uh,
like NFL wise, like what team he would go to. You would think.
he's going to be early, so I would have to like break down who is going to pick that early. Like Cleveland, I think he could be okay there. I tweeted out earlier today. Oh, almost at Oakland, Las Vegas, the Raiders with
Yeah.
him, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and I mentioned Xavier Restrepo as
Yeah.
an offense. Like I think that offense could be really good with those guys. I think the Raiders would be fun if that's the offense that they could have.
Mhm.
That would be very interesting to me. But let's get into a little bit of the film review. Games I watched: Rutgers in 2023, California, Virginia Tech, Florida, and Louisville were the games I watched so far this year. There's also a game I watched live, and I couldn't remember what it was, so I didn't put it down. Some pros I have on Xavier Restrepo is, I mentioned his 180-pound size, and I do think he's probably going to weigh in about that, maybe even a little less. This dude is extremely tough and a physical wide receiver. You see him in the open field trying to make blocks. You see him with more handsy defenders fight through and push through. You see him. I don't think he's a really good contested catch player because that's not his game, being at 5'10", 180. But you see him
Right.
attempting, which is good. So my comp for him is a more physical Lad McConkey, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think one of my next thing here is his quick, twitchy route running. I think he is in the upper echelon of this class when it comes to route running. I think he's got a really good jab step, um, gets defenders on their heels, and I just think he's really quick. He's not the fastest dude, but he's going to make you guess where he's going. I think he's going to squash the cone drills, which I think are super important. I think that's one of the more important drills at the combine. Um, Solid hands and catches outside of his frame. I know, Rich, you've probably seen the highlight of him falling backwards and catching the ball at the same time. That was against Florida.
Yeah.
He's making catches outside of his frame at that size. It's super impressive to me. And then his yards after catch ability. This dude, we talked about his quick and twitchy route running, uses that and his physicality and toughness to create yards after the catch. Um, he could take one from 50 yards down the field. It's very impressive to me. I know you've watched a little bit of Xavier Restrepo. What do you think?
I think, dude, he's a baller, dude, for sure. I do agree with you with his quick route running and stuff like that. But like the cons I'm reading, he's 5'10", being a 5'10" and the slot usage, him not in the slot, you kind of think of slot wide receivers as being that size. So it's like
Mhm.
if he's not
At this
that
point, yeah.
familiar, yeah, if he's like not being used in the slot where he's kind of got the frame for a slot, it's kind of concerning. But in today's NFL, they move all around the field to begin with, so I don't think that may be an issue.
Mhm.
Um, as far as body catches, these are all things that you can work on. Like, thankfully, it's not like a speed thing or with our boy Quentin Johnson, who just couldn't catch the goddamn ball. Like things that are unteachable, he's got teachable things
Right.
that you
The
can
slim
like
frame, really,
eliminate.
he can't do
Yeah,
too much
well,
with.
I mean, you can bulk up. I mean, you can't stretch your body out, pause, but you can put some weight on. So
Right.
that I think might be something he might need to do to get in that when he gets to the NFL. But as
We've
far as
seen
everything
wide
else,
receivers this size work extremely
yeah,
well. The
sure.
Zay Flowerses, the Lad McConkeys.
I was gonna say
Those,
Lab McConkey's been fucking killing it, dude.
yeah, he
What a
has.
fucking I think I drafted him in the third fucking round too.
Second round, I remember because I was trying to.
Ah,
But the slot usage thing, like you mentioned, and I mentioned it back in the PFF stats, 90% is a little high. I would like to see that drop in maybe like to the 80%. I would like to see him be a little bit more well rounded. But again, if this is a guy who can go to a team who, Jacoby Myers, we were talking about Oakland being over 6 foot, Brock Bowers, another
mm,
large, big body guy. I think he would be really good in the short to intermediate. I think he feasts in those areas, kind of like a Lad
right.
McConkey. Um, I would like to see him there. And the body catches, I put that as a con, but I didn't see it a lot. There were, I think it was against, I want to say Louisville, if I'm not mistaken. It reared its ugly head quite a bit. And I was like, okay, this is starting to become a thing. But you didn't see it every single game multiple times. I felt like
Mm,
it's something he needs to work on because if you're letting the ball hit your body, you're giving the defender an extra chance to make a
right.
play on the
Gotta
ball.
catch a ball. Gotta catch a ball with your hands. I mean, it makes sense. Like when you say it, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
but like,
There are
yeah,
certain
there's
circumstances where you got to use your body, of course,
sure,
right? Um, but being at that small frame, being a body catcher is not something you want to do because if you can get hit and get that thing knocked out,
right.
it's kind of frustrating. But this is a kind of guy I could see going in the second round. I would like to see him here in Philadelphia, to be honest with you, because we do need. I think Devontae has been feasting in the slot, so I'm not really super concerned about that. I do
Desperately
think we
need a
need it.
three, dude.
Yeah, we need a three. Oakland, I mentioned, but this is just
Well,
a dude I think who has picked up on people's radars recently. Kind of why I wanted to talk about him. Kind of guy I was high on coming into this season, and I'm extremely excited to see what he does the rest of the way. Especially because he's like we said earlier, a guy breaking the records at Miami is pretty friggin' insane.
it says something, dude. It's not
It's
you're not breaking records at Toledo. You're breaking records at one of like the upper echelon football schools,
right,
especially wide receivers.
and it's good to see Miami being good again
I
in
love
college
it, dude.
football.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
I
You got to throw
think.
that picture up of us when we were like 10 and I had my Miami gear on.
Oh, I remember that. Didn't you buy a Miami jacket or
Y-
something
y-
like that?
I
Didn't
had
you
a
have the
Miami.
starter?
Yeah, that, and I had the hat, and you had that picture of us with your Jason Kidd jersey in my
Oh,
Miami.
yeah, my Jason Kidd Nets jersey, and you had the Miami Hurricanes fitted
Backwards
about
hat. Yeah,
80 sizes too big that could fit on a pumpkin. But um, yeah,
my
this
head is the size of a pumpkin.
true. Good point. Um, Yeah, that is Xavier Restrepo, a guy that I'm super high on. I've watched about 10 to 12 wide receivers so far. He is my wide receiver six, my guy right now. I'm excited to see how this season plays out. I do think he's probably going to be a Senior Bowl guy. I would like to see that happen. Rich and I are going to try to attend this year again. Um, and I think he could be a second round pick. I'm very interested to see, and I like seeing the smaller, scrappier guys
Mm,
work out, especially because they have, especially a wide receiver, they have a harder time making it at that size. This
sure.
dude's scrappy. I like to see it. All right, well that'll be it. I hit hide and it did not go away. There it goes. Well, that'll be it for the Dynasty Dogs. We'll be back next week breaking down week 11 because I can't believe we're here already. Possibly another draft profile. We'll see how the week goes. Like I mentioned, I want to start doing them at least weekly because we need to. This is the time of the year. We know we talked about fantasy championships. This is the time of the year where you need to start thinking, what's next year looking like for me? What's this draft class looking like for me? Because
Sure.
my team sucks, and I need to start stacking up those picks. Like you saw, what in that one league we are in with Dynasty DNA, I acquired 3 first-round picks because I knew my team wasn't going anywhere. I knew it was time for me to pull the plug,
I
and
actually didn't see that, so I gotta go
yeah, you did.
check
Remember
that.
when I was talking about Pitts? I think it was. I moved Pitts and something else for three
Huh?
firsts.
What? No, I
Yeah,
didn't see this. What the fuck
yeah,
are you talking about?
yeah. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Are you?
A few
No,
weeks
you're not
ago.
in that league. You're not in that league, but we talked about it.
I'm not in the league. Oh, cool. Oh, okay. I am in a Dynasty DNA league.
Not that one though.
There's two. Okay.
You weren't cool enough to get into the second
Yeah, I
one,
guess
but
not.
I did acquire three extra firsts in that draft. Now I have four
For
in
Kyle
my.
Pitts.
Not for Kyle Pitts himself. I can't remember what the hell the trade was. Give me a second. Um, it was Kyle Pitts and Chris Godwin for 2 firsts and 2 seconds.
Well, that's a fucking awful trade
For what?
for whoever got Kyle Pitts and Chris. I just fucking smashed my ankles to smithereens Godwin.
Well, that was before that happened.
Oh,
He was
okay.
on a tear at that point.
Yeah. Oof.
But this is the time of year you guys need to start looking ahead, especially if you're in rebuild mode, if you're in tank mode. Again, make sure you're tanking fairly and logically. Don't be, a complete scumbag. You're going to tank it right, tank the correct way, and make sure you're stocking up because this is going to be a very solid class. I don't think it's elite, kind of like what we saw this year, but I think it's going to be very solid. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what this class brings us, especially the running back room. I think we're going to have a couple guys that are going to shake the running back landscape up. I mean, look at what Ashton Genty's doing, Heisman front runner with him and Cam Ward, kind of duking it out
Yeah.
right now. Very excited to see what it brings us. But we'll talk to you guys next week. For Rich and Mike, I'll be signing out. And if you want, check this podcast out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can follow me at Dynasty Dog Mike and at Rich at Dynasty Dog Rich. You can't follow me on both places. And we'll see you guys next week. You have a good night.
Peace.
And it's not ending.